Caleb Morrison was knee-deep in a hole he was digging for himself out in the hot Texas sun. He was 42, sweaty, and tired, his hands all dirty from working a shovel for 3 hours straight. The sun was blazing down on his worn-out face, and he felt like this was his end. All alone, forgotten, in the middle of nowhere. He'd even carved a wooden cross that just said, "Here lies a man who gave up." No name, because who was left to care? But right as he scooped up more dirt, a shadow appeared at the edge of the hole. Then another and another. 5 little girls stood there, outlined against the bright sky. Their dresses were ripped, their hair all messy. The oldest looked about 14, the youngest maybe 6. Caleb froze, shovel in midair. He'd been living alone on this empty ranch for 3 years. Not a single visitor. The closest town was 15 miles away through a desert that could wipe out anyone, especially kids. "Mister," the tallest girl said, her voice steady even though she looked shaky, "we need your help." Caleb squinted at them, his brain trying to catch up. These weren't kids out for a walk. Their clothes were filthy, like they'd been running forever. The oldest had dried blood on her sleeve, and the littlest one held a ragdoll with its head barely hanging on. "How'd you even get here?" he asked, grumbling, then feeling bad for cursing around kids. "We walked," the leader said, like it was no big deal. 2 days through the desert with no water, no shade, nothing. Caleb felt something stir inside him, something he hadn't felt since he lost his own family, but he pushed it down. He didn't want to care. He was supposed to be done by sundown. "You can't stay," he said, gripping the shovel harder. "This is my land, and I'm busy." The girl glanced at the hole, then back at him. "We're not asking," she said quietly. "They'll kill us if we go back." Those words hit Caleb hard. Kill them? These were kids, not criminals. But the fear in her voice was real, like she'd seen something awful. He looked closer, bruises on the youngest's arms, cuts on another's hands, like she'd fought someone off. These girls weren't lost. They were running. "Who's after you?" he asked, regretting it right away. "The men from the orphanage," the leader whispered. "They think we saw something we weren't supposed to." Caleb's stomach turned cold. He'd heard stories about places like that, where kids vanished and money changed hands for shady reasons. The littlest girl started crying, a sound that sliced through the quiet desert. The oldest knelt beside her, whispering comfort like she'd been taking care of her forever. Then Caleb saw it, a dust cloud on the horizon, moving fast toward his ranch. The leader girl saw it too, her face pale as a ghost. "They found us," she breathed. Caleb looked at the riders, then at the 5 scared girls by his half-dug hole. Every part of him wanted to send them away, to finish what he'd started. But something in the oldest girl's eyes, brave, like someone he'd lost long ago, made him stop. The hoofbeats were getting louder. Time froze as Caleb stared at the riders, his mind racing faster than their horses. "Get inside the house," he shouted, climbing out of the hole. But the oldest girl grabbed his arm, her fingers strong for someone so small. "You don't get it. They've got legal papers. If they find us here, they'll take us back and say you kidnapped us." Kidnapping? That word hit like a hammer. This wasn't just about scared kids anymore. It was a mess that could ruin him. "Then why come here?" he demanded. "Because you're the only one around who isn't in on it," she said, desperate. "The sheriff, the mayor, the judge, they all take money from Mr. Thornton." Thorne? Caleb knew that name. Everyone did. Silas Thornton owned half the territory's businesses and had his hands in every dirty deal around. The hoofbeats were close now, 4 riders, moving fast but not panicked, like they knew they were in charge. "What's your name?" he asked the girl quickly. "Emma. Emma Thorne." Thorne, not Thornton, but close enough to make Caleb's gut twist. "Family? Or just bad luck? The little ones?" he asked, pointing to the other girls hiding behind Emma. "My sisters, Mary, Beth, Lucy, and Alice," Emma said, her voice breaking a little. "We're all that's left." Those words hit Caleb hard. Whatever these girls had gone through, it had taken everything else from them. The riders were close enough now to see their faces, tough guys with cold eyes, dressed like they had money and power. The leader wore a deputy's badge that glinted in the sun like a warning. "All right," Caleb said, his choice becoming clear. "Here's the plan." He grabbed the shovel and started filling in the hole, moving fast but steady. "Emma, take your sisters to the root cellar behind the house. There's a hidden door under the old wagon. Stay quiet, no matter what." "What about you?" Emma whispered. "I'm going to make them think you were never here." But even as he said it, Caleb knew it wouldn't be easy. These guys didn't seem like they'd give up. The girls ran to the cellar just as the riders reached the hill by Caleb's land. He kept shoveling, acting like he was just filling a hole. Nothing weird here. The deputy stopped about 20 feet away, close enough to talk, but far enough to pull a gun if he needed to. His three buddies spread out, their horses snorting and pawing the ground. "Afternoon," the deputy called, his voice fake polite. "I'm Deputy Marcus Webb. We're looking for some runaway kids." Caleb didn't stop shoveling. "Haven't seen any kids. Don't get visitors out here." "5 girls," Webb said, his eyes scanning the place. "Ages 6 to 14. They ran from the Thornton Children's Home 2 days ago." "Like I said, haven't seen anyone," Caleb replied, finally stopping to meet Webb's stare. "This is my land, by the way." Webb's smile was all teeth, no friendliness. "We've got a warrant to search any place within 50 miles. These kids are dangerous." "Dangerous? 5 scared little girls?" Caleb almost laughed, but the deputy's hand on his gun said this was no joke. "Dangerous how?" Caleb asked. "They saw something they shouldn't have," one of the other riders said, then shut up when Webb glared at him. Caleb's mind clicked Emma's words. "They think we saw something we shouldn't have." This was starting to make sense. And it was ugly. These weren't cops looking for runaways. They were here to shut up witnesses. "Well," Caleb said carefully, "look around, but make it quick. I've got work to do." Webb nodded, and his men got off their horses, searching like pros, checking every spot a kid might hide. Caleb kept filling the hole, each scoop feeling heavier, not from the dirt, but from what it meant. He was burying his old life, the one where he gave up. And with each scoop, he was stepping into something he swore he'd never do again. Care about someone else. One of the searchers came back from behind the house, shaking his head. Webb's jaw tightened. "Big place for one guy," he said. "Must get lonely." "I like lonely," Caleb shot back. "Most folks around here know to help the law," Webb said, his voice turning hard. "Those who don't sometimes get in big trouble." The threat hung in the air like dust. Caleb's hand inched toward the pistol on his hip. "Sounds like a threat, deputy." "Just facts," Webb said. "Those girls stole something. Anyone hiding them is helping thieves. Stolen property? Another lie." Caleb was starting to see the game. These guys weren't about justice. They were covering something up. The searchers finished and reported back to Webb with head shakes. "No kids." But Webb looked madder, not relieved. "You sure you haven't seen anything odd?" He pressed. 5 girls walking through the desert. That's hard to miss. "I'm sure," Caleb said firmly. Webb stared at the half-filled hole. "What were you burying? Dead horse?" "Up," Caleb lied. "Died yesterday." "Funny place to bury it, so close to the house." Funny thing to question what a man does on his own land. The tension was thick, like a rope about to break. Webb's hand twitched toward his gun, and Caleb braced himself. But then Webb seemed to think better of it. Maybe it was the look. In Caleb's eyes, a guy with nothing to lose. "We'll be back," Webb said, grabbing his horse's reins. "Those girls can't hide forever, and we'll remember who helped and who didn't." The 4 men rode off, kicking up dust that hung like trouble waiting to happen. Caleb waited till they were gone, then ran to the root cellar. He found the girls huddled in the dark, Emma's arms around her sisters. "Are they gone?" she whispered. "For now," Caleb said. "But they'll be back, probably with more." "Guys," Emma's face fell. "We should go. We shouldn't have come here. Now you're in danger too." Caleb looked at their scared faces, thinking of Webb's threats, the legal mess, the simple life he'd planned to end. Then he thought of the kind of men who chase kids through the desert and call them dangerous. "No," he said firmly. "You're staying." But even as he said it, Caleb knew everything was about to change. Men like Webb didn't quit, they got worse. And somewhere out there, thunder rumbled, even though the sky was clear. That night, Caleb did something he hadn't done in 3 years. Cooked for more than just himself. The girls sat around his little kitchen table, their faces clean, but their eyes still heavy with fear. Emma kept glancing at the windows, tense like a deer ready to run. "Tell me what you saw," Caleb said quietly, setting out plates of beans and cornbread. Emma shook her head. "The less you know, the safer you are." "I'm already in this," Caleb said. "Those guys will be back, and I need to know what I'm dealing with." Little Alice, the youngest, looked up from her plate, her eyes way too old for a 6-year-old. "We saw Mr. Thornton hurt a lady," she said. "Alice, no." Emma whispered, but Alice kept going, her voice steady, with awful truth. "She was screaming." Then she stopped. The words hit like a punch. These kids hadn't just seen something bad. They'd seen a murder. "Where'd this happen?" Caleb asked carefully. "In the basement of the children's home," Emma said, barely audible. "We were supposed to be asleep, but Alice had a nightmare. We went to get water and heard her." She stopped, unable to go on. "The lady was asking about missing kids." Beth, about 10, added quietly. "She had papers, said she was gonna tell everyone what Mr. Thornton was doing." A reporter, Caleb thought, or maybe someone official. Someone asking too many questions about where the kids were going. "That's why they want us back," Emma said. "We're the only ones who saw. If we're gone, no one can tell." Caleb's mind raced. These weren't just runaways. They were walking proof of something terrible. Thornton would never stop hunting them. With his money and connections, he had way more power than a lone rancher. "There's more," Emma said, nervous. She pulled a small leather journal from her torn dress, its pages old and worn. "The lady gave me this before she died. Said if anything happened to her, someone needed to know the truth." Caleb took the journal, his hand shaky. He opened it and felt his world shift. The neat handwriting listed names, dates, payments, a record of Thornton's crimes. Not just the children's home, but a whole system of selling kids like animals. Some sent to dangerous mines, others to awful places in far-off cities. The youngest just vanished, marked as special orders with huge payments. "Sweet Jesus," Caleb whispered, his hands trembling as he read the horrors. "She was gonna send this to the governor," Emma said. "But they killed her first." Caleb's blood ran cold. "They know she had this?" Emma nodded. "They tore her room apart looking for it. That's when we ran." A new sound cut through the night. Lots of horses, moving fast. Too many for a simple search. Caleb looked out the window and felt his stomach drop. At least a dozen riders with torches, like angry stars in the dark. This wasn't a search anymore. It was a hunt. "They brought an army," he said grimly. Emma was already grabbing her sisters, moving fast like she'd done this before. "We have to go now." But Caleb shook his head. Too late. "They've got us surrounded." Through the window, he saw riders circling the property, blocking every way out. They were ready for a fight, not a search. "The cellar again?" Emma asked, desperate. "They'll tear this place apart," Caleb said. "They know you're here." Mary, about 8, started crying silently, tears running down her dirty cheeks. Lucy, barely 7, hugged her broken doll tighter, like it could save her. Caleb looked at their scared faces, then at the journal. Evidence that could stop a monster if it survived the night. A loud voice boomed through a megaphone. "Morrison, we know they're in there. Send them out, and we'll make this easy." Easy? As if handing kids over to killers was easy. Caleb grabbed his gun cabinet, loading a rifle, his pistol, and his dad's old shotgun. "What are you doing?" Emma whispered. "What I should have done 3 years ago," Caleb said, checking his pistol. "Standing up to bad guys. You can't fight them all," Emma said. "There's too many." "Maybe," Caleb said. "But they'll remember this night." He handed Emma the journal. "There's a loose board in the back bedroom floor. Hide this there. If I don't make it, get it to the Capitol." The voice outside boomed again. Closer. 5 minutes. "Morrison, then we're coming in." Caleb looked out at the ring of armed men, 12 against 1. Bad odds, but he'd faced worse in the war. Back then, he fought for big ideas: country, honor, duty. Tonight, it was for kids who had no one else. "Get to the back room," he told the girls quietly. "Whatever you hear, don't come out." Till morning, Emma grabbed his sleeve. "Mr. Morrison, why are you doing this?" Caleb thought of his own kids, lost to fever 3 years ago, and the man he used to be before grief broke him. "Because some things are worth dying for," he said simply. The 5 minutes were up. A torch flew toward the roof, sparking as it hit. "Fire on the roof!" Caleb yelled, kicking out the front window and aiming at the nearest rider. His first shot knocked the guy off his horse. The sound like thunder in the desert. Gunfire exploded. From all sides, bullets tearing through wood and glass. The house was a fortress under attack. Caleb ducked as bullets ripped through where his head had been. Smoke was creeping and the fire was spreading. He heard Webb's voice. "Don't kill Morrison unless you have to. We need him alive to sign a confession." A confession? They weren't just here to kill witnesses. They wanted to frame him. Another round of shots made him duck as wood splinters flew. He counted muzzle flashes. 12 men spread out smartly. But they weren't soldiers, just hired thugs used to scaring people, not fighting someone who fought back. Caleb proved it by shooting a guy trying to sneak around the house. The man's scream echoed, followed by curses. "Morrison!" Webb yelled. "Those kids are criminals. You're hiding fugitives, and you're a murderer." Caleb shouted back, aiming at another shadow. The fire was spreading, smoke making it hard to breathe or see. The girls were coughing in the back room, trapped between killers outside and fire above. Caleb realized their plan. Let the fire force everyone out, then say the kids died in the blaze while escaping. "Emma," he called, "can you get the back bedroom window open?" "It's stuck." She coughed back. Caleb cursed. The house was a trap. Stepping outside meant getting shot, unless he gave them something else to focus on. He grabbed the lantern and threw it at the front wall, spreading burning oil. If they wanted fire, he'd give them a show. The flames lit up the yard, exposing 3 gunmen hiding in the dark. Caleb's rifle fired twice, sending them scrambling. But the bigger flames meant less time before the roof caved in. The smoke was thick, and the girls were coughing harder. "They're gonna choke," Emma yelled, desperate. Caleb made a crazy choice. Loading his shotgun, he kicked open the front door and stepped onto the porch. "Here I am," he roared. "Come get me." Bullets tore up the porch as he dove behind a water trough. The gunfire was wild, but it worked. All their guns were on him, giving the girls a chance to escape out back. A bullet grazed his shoulder, pain burning through his arm. Another hit the trough, soaking him with water that steamed in the heat. "Got him?" Someone yelled, but Caleb wasn't done. Rolling sideways, he fired both shotgun barrels, dropping 2 guys rushing the porch dot. Then he heard it. Alice screaming, not from fear, but pure terror, from behind the house. They'd been caught. "We got them," Webb shouted. "All 5! Come out, Morrison, or we start cutting throats." Caleb's heart broke. He'd failed. After all this, he couldn't save them. "You want me?" he yelled, his voice rough with smoke and anger. "Let them go, and I'll come out unarmed." "No deal," Webb shot back. "Surrender now, and maybe some of these kids live till morning." "Maybe." The word dripped with cruelty. Caleb checked his ammo. 3 rifle bullets, 4 in his pistol. Not enough to fight 12 men and save 5 girls, but maybe enough for something else. The journal, hidden in the back room, could destroy Thornton's operation if it survived the fire. If you were Caleb, what would you do? Give up and hope these killers show mercy? Or make one last crazy move that could save the evidence but risk everything? Tell me in the comments, because what Caleb did next would either save his soul or end it forever. Moving with desperate purpose, Caleb crawled back into the burning house. Not to give up, but to grab the one thing that could make their deaths matter. The roof groaned, ready to collapse. Alice's screams echoed in the dark. Caleb crawled through smoke and flames to the back bedroom, his lungs burning. The floorboard was where he told Emma to hide the journal, but it was hot enough to burn skin. Using his knife, he pried it up and grabbed the leather book. Relief hitting him as he tucked it into his vest. Footsteps sounded on the porch. They were coming in. Through the smoke, he saw 3 men with bandanas over their faces, guns ready, looking for survivors. They were cautious, expecting a fight, but not what Caleb had planned. He grabbed a kerosene lamp from the bedside table. The house was already burning, but he needed a bigger boom to scatter the attackers. In the kitchen, he found his blasting powder, used for clearing rocks. Enough to blow up half the house. Check the back rooms. Webb's voice came through the smoke. Morrison's here somewhere. Caleb poured the powder in a trail to the biggest pile. Found something, a searcher yelled. Blood trailed to the kitchen. Time was up. Caleb lit a kerosene-soaked rag and dropped it on the powder trail. The fire raced across the floor, giving him maybe 10 seconds. He dove through a window just as the explosion ripped through the house. The blast was huge. The back wall blew apart in a storm of wood and flame, knocking down 2 men outside. The 3 inside were gone in the fireball. Caleb hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision blurry but alive. He saw the girls tied to a wagon 50 yards away, surrounded by the remaining gunmen, dazed from the blast. Webb was yelling orders, his voice fuzzy. Alice wasn't screaming anymore, sitting still, frozen with terror. Then Caleb saw something that made him furious. Emma's dress was torn in a way that wasn't from running. Her face was bruised, her body stiff like she was hiding pain. They'd hurt her. These monsters had touched a 14-year-old girl. Anger burned away all strategy. Caleb rose like a ghost, his rifle firing as he charged the wagon. His first shot dropped the man closest to Emma. The second sent Anno third-spinning into the dirt. The rest scrambled for cover, but Caleb was on them, fighting like a man with nothing to lose. A pistol shot grazed his ribs, spinning him, but he smashed the shooter's skull with his rifle butt and grabbed his gun. "Kill him!" Webb screamed. "Kill him now." But these guys were learning. It's one thing to hurt kids, another to fight a man who's already given up on living. Caleb fought dirty, using tricks from wars and years on the frontier. He grabbed one guy as a shield, shooting. Another threw him. When the shield died, he threw the body at Webb and dove behind a barrel, reloading fast. The odds were shifting. 12 against 1 was now 4 against 1, and they were starting to panic. Panicked men are dangerous, though. Enough. Webb roared, pressing his gun to Emma's head. "Drop your weapons or I shoot her." Caleb froze, rifle halfway up. Emma's eyes were brave, even with a gun to her head. "You're done, Morrison," Webb panted, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. "Drop the guns, and maybe I'll make it quick." Caleb looked at the 3 remaining gunmen, their weapons on him, at the 5 girls tied to the wagon, faces streaked with tears and soot, at Emma, mouthing one word, "Run." But Caleb was done running. He'd run from his family's death, his duties, the man he should have been. "You know what, Webb?" he said, lowering his rifle slowly. "You're right, I'm done." Webb smirked, relaxing just a bit. That's when Caleb pulled a hidden Derringer from his boot and shot both barrels into Webb's chest. The deputy's gun fired as he fell, missing wide. Chaos exploded again as the remaining gunmen shot, but something had changed. The girls weren't screaming, they were fighting. Emma freed one hand and was untying her sisters. Mary and Beth kicked their captors. Even little Alice bit a guy's hand. Caleb wasn't the broken man from that morning. He was a man protecting something precious. But as he grabbed Webb's gun, he saw more riders, 20 at least, coming fast from town. Thornton himself was coming to end this. The new riders stormed in like a nightmare, but Caleb wasn't the same guy who'd faced. 12. The journal pressed against his chest like a lucky charm as he helped Emma free her sisters from the wagon. Blood streaked his face, his left arm useless from the shoulder wound, but his eyes burned with purpose. "Can you ride?" he asked Emma. "Yes," she said, steady despite everything. "Take the wagon. Head north to the canyon. There's a cave 3 miles up. Hide there. What about you?" Mary asked, her 8-year-old voice shaking. Caleb looked at the dust cloud, then at Webb's body. The 3 gunmen who'd run would be back with more. I'm gonna buy you time, he said. Emma grabbed his arm. You can't fight 20 men. I don't have to, Caleb said, handing her the journal. I just need this to survive. Get it to the capital. Find someone honest, a newspaper editor, a federal marshal. They'll kill you, Emma whispered. Maybe, Caleb admitted, but they were gonna kill me anyway. This way, it means something. The hoofbeats were close. In the firelight, Caleb saw the lead rider, a tall man in a fancy suit on an expensive horse. Silas Thornton himself, here to clean up his mess. Go, Caleb urged. Emma hesitated, her young face torn between running and loyalty. You saved us, she said quietly. No, Caleb replied, checking his ammo. You saved me. The girls climbed into the wagon, Emma grabbing the reins like she'd done it 100 times. As they sped toward the canyon, Caleb felt something lift in his chest. For the first time in 3 years, he'd done something that mattered. Thornton's riders were close enough to see their faces, hard men, professional killers bought by money. Thornton led them, a mistake rich guys shouldn't make. Caleb hid behind the water trough, using the burning house to light up his targets. He had about 30 bullets left against 20 men. Hopeless, but Caleb knew this land every rock, every shadow from 3 years of wandering it in grief. He wasn't afraid to die anymore. Morrison, Thornton's voice cut through the desert. I hear you're hiding criminals. I hear you're murdering kids, Caleb yelled back. Thornton's laugh was ice cold. Those weren't kids, Morrison. They were witnesses to a sad accident. A woman fell down some stairs at my home. Fell downstairs? Caleb repeated. After you pushed her? Accidents happen, Thornton said, fake sadness in his voice. Like the one about to happen to you. He signaled his men, who spread out like pros, ready to surround and kill. But Caleb knew his business too. His first shot dropped a guy trying to sneak left, the sound like a warning bell. Before the body hit, Caleb rolled to a new spot behind lumber. The return fire was heavy, but missed where he'd been. His second shot hit a rider circling the house, spooking his horse and messing up their formation. $20,000 for his head. Thornton screamed, losing his cool as Caleb proved hard to kill. Caleb used their greed, shooting at the eager ones to make them paranoid. It worked when he wounded a third guy. 2 others turned on each other, thinking they'd steal the reward. But Thornton shut it down with threats. Burn him out, he ordered. His men lit torches, setting fire to the barn, the chicken coop, the shed. Soon, Caleb would be trapped in flames with nowhere to run. Then he heard gunfire from the canyon. The girls were in trouble not. As he moved toward the sound, Thornton spotted him. There! Kill him! A dozen guns fired at once. Caleb faced his final choice. Save himself and hope the girls escaped, or run into certain death to reach them. For a guy who'd been digging his own grave that morning, it wasn't really a choice. Caleb charged into the gunfire, screaming like a wild man, zigzagging across the desert, using rocks and cacti for cover. Thornton shouted, Don't let him reach the canyon. He's got something we need. They knew about the journal. Someone saw him give it to Emma. The girls were in bigger danger than he thought. A bullet hit his leg, pain searing through. But he kept running. The gunfire from the canyon was desperate. He heard Emma yelling orders to her sisters, holding them together. That girl had more guts than most grown men. Cresting the ridge, Caleb saw the wagon overturned, one wheel spinning. Emma was behind it, firing a scavenged rifle at 6 men who'd trapped them in a box canyon. Mary and Beth shielded Lucy and Alice behind a boulder. The 6 men moved like pros. This was planned. The ranch attack, the chase, the escape route, all a trap. Thornton was playing chess while Caleb played checkers. But Caleb had one edge. He had nothing to lose. His first shot dropped a guy near the girls. The second hit another in the shoulder, ruining his aim. Behind you, Emma shouted. Caleb dove as bullets rained from the ridge. Thornton's men had followed. He was in a crossfire, trapped between the canyon guys and the ones from the ranch. Logic said he was dead. Logic said surrender. But logic hadn't saved his kids 3 years ago, and it wouldn't save these girls now. Rolling behind a fallen tree, Caleb fought like never before. Every shot had to count, every move perfect. He dropped another gunman with a clean shot, but return fire tore up his cover. Then he saw Alice break from her sisters, running toward him, clutching her broken doll, tears streaming as bullets kicked up dust around her. "Uncle Caleb," she cried. "Uncle Caleb, help us, Uncle." This kid, who'd known him for a day, trusted him like family. Time slowed as a rifle aimed at her. Caleb didn't think he threw himself out of cover. Taking the bullet meant. For Alice in his chest, rolling them both behind a boulder, the pain was blinding. Blood soaking his shirt as he held Alice close. "It's okay, little one," he whispered, strength fading. "Uncle Caleb's got you." But things were falling apart. Emma was low on bullets. The girl surrounded, more men pouring into the canyon. Then he heard bugle calls from the east. U.S. cavalry, a full patrol, riding toward the gunfire. Thornton's mistake was making this fight so big it drew federal attention. But they were minutes away, and Alice was bleeding from a graze on her arm where Caleb couldn't fully shield her. If you're loving this story, hit subscribe, because you won't believe the ending. Caleb saw the journal in Emma's torn dress, Alice's trusting face, and the cavalry dust too far to help yet. One bullet left, one final choice. As Thornton appeared on the canyon's edge, gun drawn, murder in his eyes, Caleb raised his rifle, hands shaking from blood loss, aiming the most important shot of his life. Thornton stood outlined against the canyon rim, one bullet. One chance to stop the monster who hurt kids for profit. But as Caleb's finger touched the trigger, Alice stirred in his arms. "Uncle Caleb," she whispered, her voice cutting through the noise. "Are we going to be okay?" That moment changed everything. This wasn't about revenge or justice. Anymore, it was about a 6-year-old needing to believe good could win. Instead of shooting Thornton, Caleb aimed at a pile of loose rocks above the gunman and fired his last bullet. The small avalanche buried 2 of Thornton's men, creating chaos. Emma grabbed the journal and ran to Caleb's boulder. "The cavalry's coming!" she shouted, pointing at their dust. Thornton's voice echoed, furious. "Kill them all. No witnesses." But his men were breaking. The bugles meant federal troops, and Thornton's money couldn't buy them off. One by one, his hired guns slipped into the desert, abandoning him. Only Thornton and 3 loyal killers stayed, trapped in a canyon that was about to be there. And the cavalry charged in like heroes, blue uniforms and shining sabers flooding the canyon. Captain Benjamin Hayes led them, shouting, "This is the U.S. Army. Drop your weapons." Thornton grabbed a rifle and aimed at Emma, but Caleb had one. Last weapon, the derringer that killed Webb. Both shot at once. Thornton's bullet missed. Caleb's hit him square in the chest, dropping him face first into the dirt. The last 3 gunmen gave up, tossing their weapons as soldiers surrounded them. Hayes jumped off his horse, looking at the destruction with a veteran's eye. "What happened here?" he demanded. Emma stood, clutching the journal, and told the story, the murders at the orphanage, what they saw, the night-long fight to survive. When she finished, Hayes read the journal, his face darkening. "Sweet Mother of God," he said. "This goes all the way to the governor's office." "That's why they wanted us gone," Emma said. "We're the only witnesses." Hayes nodded. "Not anymore. This journal and your story will take down everyone involved." As a medic bandaged Caleb's chest and shoulder, Alice climbed into his lap with her broken doll. "Uncle Caleb," she said seriously, "are you going to die?" Caleb looked at this brave girl who'd survived so much, at Emma's fierce courage, at Mary, Beth, and Lucy, who'd never face those monsters again. "No, little one," he said softly, "not today." And for the first time in 3 years, he meant it. 6 months later, Caleb stood in the doorway of his rebuilt ranch house. Watching 5 girls play in a yard, he turned into a real home. The children's home was shut down, its corrupt leaders in jail or gone. Thornton's evil network was broken, thanks to the journal. Emma, now 15, was like the leader of their odd little family, helping Caleb make the ranch a safe place for hurt kids to heal. Mary and Beth went to the new school in town, their laughter coming back slowly. Lucy was smiling again, and Alice, still calling him Uncle Caleb, carried her doll. now fixed with careful stitches. Just like their new family, the man who'd been digging his own grave had found something better than death: redemption and protecting kids who couldn't protect themselves. As the sun set over the Texas desert, painting the sky with hope, Caleb finally knew what it meant to truly live. Some guys are born great. Some have greatness pushed on them, but a rare few find it by standing between evil and innocence, no matter what. Caleb found his purpose in 5 orphan girls who showed up when he needed them most. And they found their safety in a man who'd given up on everything except doing what was right. Now click the video on the screen for a story even wilder than this one, with a twist you'll never forget.